Hey guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, with a look at the iPhone 5C. So this joins the iPhone 5S as part of Apple's new range of iPhones for 2013. Now the 5C is kind of famous for the fact that it's now made out of plastic and available in a variety of colors, from green to pink or kind of a salmon color, to yellow, to blue, to white. And the version I have here is white. Now these are just the back shells, if you're wondering, so I didn't buy all of these phones. Just want to give you an idea of what each shell of these devices looks like. So we're going to take a look at the white version in full here. So you can see the packaging, iPhone 5C, very different from the iPhone 5S or any iPhone before it, which usually comes in kind of a cardboard box like this. Instead, we have this kind of iPod-like box with this clamshell crystal case. Have this little sleeve surrounding it. So let's go ahead and pull that off. Now the iPhone 5C is basically the iPhone 5 with a larger battery, a better front-facing camera, a slightly larger battery, I think it's about 5%, and it's been redesigned with this plastic shell, possibly to reduce costs, so they can produce more of these and sell more of them at a lower cost, but it retains all the same specs, the same camera, the same internal specs with a 1 gig of RAM, the same A6 processor, everything like that, and the same Retina display. And of course, you now have the option to pick a color you want, and this also has a variety of cases that match the colors of the iPhone 5C. So you can see you have one of each. And there is also a black one, and unfortunately there is not a black iPhone 5C, so maybe they'll add that in the future. Maybe they have no intention of releasing a black iPhone 5C. Now this is available in two capacities, 16 and 32 gig, and off contract this price is at $549, and add $100 more to get to 32 gigs. And on contract, it's $99 or $199. So it's $100 savings over the iPhone 5S, at least at the base price. Now you can see here that we have the white version and we have the matching white wallpaper, which is the default wallpaper. Basically every 5C comes with its default color matching wallpaper. Of course you can change that if you prefer. But it's always been emphasized with iOS 7 that the user interface and the design of the user interface complement the hardware, so that's one way of bringing the hardware design to the software end of the phone. Now I actually really like this packaging, much better than the iPhone 5S. So you can see we have our black Apple logo, the iPhone 5C branding on the bottom. On the back we have the contents that are in this container, all your IMEI serial number information on the back. So like an iPod here, we have a little tab here to open up. So I'm just going to peel this open. Alright, so let's go ahead and lift the lid to reveal the iPhone 5C. So you can see it's just like an iPod Touch. It's kind of mounted in this tray here. It's got a kind of a faux screen label over the top of it. And behind that is just a little piece of paper here. Hello, you can see the phone right behind it. We'll set this aside for just a moment while we get through the contents here. So iPhone 5C basically tells us the buttons. Of course, we're pretty familiar with an iPhone at this point. Sleep wake button, the ring silent switch, volume buttons, lightning connector, and home button. Of course, this does not have Touch ID like the iPhone 5S. If you take this off, we should find other things in here, including our SIM ejection tool. And we have, looks like iPhone info. So even though this is an AT&T version, I believe I bought this off contract. So this is an off contract version. So I do get a SIM ejection tool, and you have the Apple stickers. Now inside, just like the iPhone 5C, we have our lightning connector, our lightning cable for charging and syncing. We have our ear pods complete with the case, so that includes the remote control and microphone, again just like the 5S. And we have our compact wall adapter. Again, that little green dot basically means that this is not one of the recalled units that dates back quite a few years to the original iPhone. So you can see that design has not changed in a while. Alright, so I'm just going to lift up the plastic. So you can see that all iPhone 5Cs have a black screen. There is no white screen option available. So we're just going to bend this tray back. It releases the phone, and we can keep that all together and take a look at the 5C. Now the first thing I noticed when handling the 5C is just how much heavier and denser it feels compared to the 5S or iPhone 5. This weighs about 4.6 ounces on my scale, and the iPhone 5 and 5S weigh about 3.9 ounces, so there is a bit of a weight gain with the 5C. Now taking a look at the design of the phone, you can see the iPhone branding on the back, which is now sporting that thinner iOS 7 font. So if you look at something like the iPhone 5, you'll see there's a slight difference there. It's a little thinner. Up top, we have our Black Apple logo, which is universal to all the iPhone 5Cs. So no matter what color, you get that Black Apple logo. Up here, you have your single LED flash and your camera. This is the same 8 megapixel iSight camera with that 5-element lens from the iPhone 5. And you have your microphone right next to it. So in fact, if we grab an iPhone 5 here, you can see there's a slight simplification of the materials used here, so you don't have those metal rings around it. Same with the iPhone 5S, which also has a simplification of the materials used, so fewer parts with the iPhone 5S. Up here you have your color matching plastic sleep-wake button, which feels pretty tactile. You have your SIM tray here, which again is a nano SIM, so let me go ahead and inject that for you so you can take a look at that. So this is the SIM-free version, so I should not have any SIM in this model. So there you go. You can see it's a plastic SIM tray versus the metal SIM trays you get with the metal iPhones. Up here you have your mute switch. You have your separated volume controls, volume up and down, and they're pill shape versus the round shape of the iPhone 5 and 5S. Now on the bottom you have your headphone jack and your mouthpiece, so that is the microphone. You have your lightning connector with the screws flanking that and your speaker. So you can see that the inserts here are all black, which matches the black screen. So here you have your home button, which is a typical home button. It's not one of the Touch ID sapphire crystal home buttons. And you have your earpiece, you have your improved front-facing camera along with the kind of invisible proximity sensor and ambient light sensor. Now just to compare this to the iPhone 5 and 5S, you can see the design is a little thicker with that thicker plastic shell, and you can see the ports are a little simpler. You don't have all these micro drilled holes for the microphone and speaker. It's just a simpler setup here. We have the buttons in the same position here, of course, and same up here. And on the right side, you have your SIM tray again, nano SIM tray, just like all the other iPhones except for the 4S. All right, so let's go ahead and boot this up for the first time. This, of course, is preloaded with iOS 7. And at the time of launch, it does need to be updated to iOS 7.0.1, which I'll do as soon as I get it booted up. Before I continue, I should also mention that this also has redesigned antennas, which are now compatible with a variety of LTE bands. This is one of the most universal phones out there, just like the iPhone 5S. So this is compatible with a lot of LTE bands across the globe, so you only need one device to connect to a lot of networks. All right, so this is our setup for iOS 7. I'm just going to log in here. We'll start with English. Let's go to English and United States. We're going to log into my Wi-Fi network. Now I do need a SIM card to activate this device, so let me go ahead and install one. All right, so I'm just going to agree to the terms and conditions. Agree. Yes, I want to use iCloud. Yes, I want to use Find My iPhone. I also want to activate iMessage and FaceTime, but of course it's showing my phone numbers, which I don't want to share, so click Next. Now it's asking me if I want to create a passcode. I'm going to say not right now, so do not add passcode. Continue. And yes, I want to use Siri. And yes, let's automatically send diagnostic information. Register with Apple. Click Next. And welcome to iPhone. So let's get started. So here is our default home screen, and as you can see, we have our matching wallpaper and iOS 7 loaded. Now, as I mentioned, the iPhone 5C is basically an iPhone 5 with a slightly larger battery and a plastic shell. And if we look at our Geekbench scores, that pretty much confirms it. So we have a ARM processor clocked at 1.3 on the iPhone 5. It looks like it's clocked down on the iPhone 5C. I'm not sure why that is. So it's 1.26 gigahertz. But if you look at our benchmark, you can see also 1 gig of RAM. If we look at our benchmark scores, you can see they're pretty much even.